Thanks for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. It is the election season, and of course information, more importantly misinformation, needs to be correlated and checked. Joining me in the studio are the folks from JomCheck Malaysia. This is Malaysia's first Academy Civil Society and Media Collaboration Fact-Checking Alliance. We're looking at some partners, including ourselves, the Astro, AWANI, Malaysia Kini, Malay Mail, many more, Sinchu, and more. Looking at civil society organizations like Arus, My MP, Warta Hidup, and more. And of course, academic players like UOW, University of Wollongong, KDU Malaysia, and UKM. In the studio are three very esteemed guests. On my right is Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh, the Associate Professor of the Faculty of Human Sciences and Humanities, and she is also the Head of Secretariat of JomCheck Malaysia. To her right is Khalil Majid Iqbal Hamid, the co-founder of Fact Check Lab, as well as the project manager and editor at JomCheck, as well as none other than a good friend of Astro, AWANI, and hopefully somebody that won't throw the book at us. It is Midiah Mahmud, the ED, or Executive Director of Communications and Multimedia Content Forum, or Content Forum, as you can see, it's a mouthful. But let's start with Dr. Sab here. Let's talk about JomCheck. Where is the genesis of this? What is it all about? And why is it important for us to talk about this right now?
So JomCheck, as you said, mentioned tadi, just now, it is the first fact-checking alliance. So we have members from civil societies, from academia, and also from media organizations. Why is it important? Because now information, is at the tip of your fingers. It's very everywhere, especially during this, election season. There's going to be a lot of propaganda, a lot of, politicians or even their followers will be sharing information which can be dubious, and etc. So this is where JomCheck will play a pivotal role. We will help citizens, we will help the rakyat fact check whatever dubious information that they come across on WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, and etc. So we have a lot of partners, like you mentioned just now, and these partners will help to do the fact checks, and JomCheck, we will coordinate this fact check and help disseminate this fact check to the public through our social media pages and through our partners as well.
All right, maybe you can talk a little bit more in terms of the collaborations that you guys do. Maybe Khalil can take this in terms of the various partners that I mentioned. Of course, the list is not exhaustive, there's a lot more. Is it difficult to collaborate with all these folks, including Fact Check Lab and many more, Chili Sauce, in terms of trying to get the right information across and most importantly, flag out the misinformation that exists on air right now?
I guess in the beginning, when we sort of were starting off, it was not the smoothest, smoothest of sailing for us. But over time, I think people have seen the value in JomCheck and the content that we've created and how we sort of work. And for this new election season, that's just come out, the PRN, we've developed a new sort of workflow that's worked really well. I think so far has been more conducive to all the partners, and more people have seen the value in it and have signed up to it. I think overall, our strategy, the way that JomCheck primarily works is we coordinate with all these partners that we have, worked with or are currently working with, and we teach them how to fact check, we give them the trainings that they require, and eventually we help them sort of disseminate their content further than what they would normally get it. Right?
Let's do the brass and tacks here in terms of what kind of training is needed in terms of trying to find the right information across and most importantly flagging out misinformation.
So I guess it's not a straightforward question, I guess, the answer to this.
None of my questions are.
So it's essentially different for how we work with the public and how we work with organizations. So for the public, what we see is you don't need to have all the same trainings as what we teach these news organizations, which is learning how to do detailed reverse image searches, contextualizations, doing geolocation, and all these other things that we teach them. So it's more technical and more technology driven. For the public, it's generally a lot of more basic information about teaching what misinformation is about, teaching them very simple Google skills that which we usually say internally is 99% of misinformation can be defeated simply with a Google search. So things are different on different levels for different parts of society, and that's how we sort of work when it comes down to it.
So Midiah, Content Forum comes to the picture because you guys are promoting messages of importance of media and versus importance of literacy. There's also an important element for us to identify who are the most susceptible in terms of consuming misinformation. I doubt it's the young generation. I think most importantly, the young generations are the ones that If anything, they are the ones who are creating this. I don't know. But we know that they are, I guess it's second nature for them to suss out, okay, this is fake, this is dubious, this is legit, and so on. So where do you see the importance or the necessity to bring capacity building to these kind of skill set to the audience right now?
Are you asking who should be having?
Yeah. No, content forum and the role of it.
Content forum. Well, for us, I think specifically for misinformation, disinformation, you are correct. I think the younger generation might be a little bit more savvy. Furthermore, they are a lot better at Googling stuff. I was just talking to these guys. People who fall for fake news are not necessarily the people that you might stereotype them being. It could be very well educated, people who have been working for a very long time, well connected, but they still fall for this fake news and they don't know where to check fake news. You ask them to Google, they go into a rabbit hole of even worse propaganda.
Yeah, I agree.
So for the content forum, we try and target as many as possible. We go as young as school children, teaching them digital literacy and being savvy about what they see online. But for the older generation, we have to find different means of doing this. And one of the things that we do is to support initiatives like JomCheck, because I think it's excellent. It's self-regulation at play. We get everybody involved. Hopefully, the elder folk, the older folks who WhatsApp their children now can just check on your WhatsApp tip line, I believe you have, and get real reputable sources to deny or reject whatever it is that they're getting.
Okay, so let's talk about the advent of misinformation. Always happens, or it most always happens the most during election season.
Yes.
Have you noticed any uptick in terms of misinformation or malinformation right now circulating the internet?
We actually, that's an interesting question because we just did a fact check. I mean, a partner just did a fact check yesterday. It's on a poster which has been disseminated. It's related to racial sentiment. And I believe, and through our last fact check, during the last GE15, JomCheck did a lot of fact checks as well, and a lot of issues that has been circulated pertaining to racial discrimination, religion, also politics, and also a bit about economics.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of questions were also about, how do we go to, the election center? What time does it open? What time? These kinds of questions were also asked through our tip lines.
See, this is the idea, right? I'm trying to understand what is the end objective of these individuals in stoking up the three so-called R's in terms of trying to increase some racial sentiment or issues relating to I guess royalty. To what end? What is the purpose? What do they get or gain in terms of creating mayhem or sowing discord amongst the population?
So religious sentiment and also race has always been a strategy used in political campaigns since forever. And this is a way for them to gain people's trust, gain people's confidence to vote for whichever party which focuses on a different religion. That's the thing about Malaysia. We are unique. Political identity is something that's very pertinent in our society. People usually vote based on their race or religion, and hence that's the reason why a lot of political parties tend to focus on those issues when they do the campaigns.
So, is it more prevalent in, say, urban areas, suburban areas, or rural areas?
It's very difficult to say, I think, because at the end of the day, it goes back to who would they vote for, and which political party are they most not related to, but empathize to.
Yeah, okay, I think that's more like it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, and sometimes for young folks, especially those who are just starting to vote, sometimes their vote depends on what their parents say, what their parents, talk about a lot at home, and etc. I know that we're saying that young people are very savvy, they're technological savvy. Then they search for, they can Google.
Digital natives.
Yeah, digital natives and all that. But at the end of the day, sometimes like I said, our culture is very different. We are very hierarchical, and we have this thing where we trust and believe our parents and what they say.
There's also this threats, right? Because I have a 16-year-old, she's going to be able to vote in 2 years. I will stop the supply of rice to her mouth if she votes another way that I do. I mean,
yes, exactly.
That's what I mean. Joking aside, that's the idea, right? The parents kind of have that high influence on the children.
Yes. And the
But it
thing
works
is-
both ways, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
child could just go up, or 18-year-old, no longer a child. But
yeah.
like, come on, mom, dad, you're reading all this
Yes.
nonsense
Yeah.
on these
It
social.
works both ways.
It works both ways. Exactly.
In
exactly.
the WhatsApp group, or my neighborhood community WhatsApp group, my job there is to show that whatever that is being shared is just fake.
You're the
And-
fact checker.
Yeah, because I can't. I mean, I can survive. I can just observe
Right.
the kind of conversations that are currently happening in terms of the WhatsApp group in my neighborhood, from the Surau group lah, from the what group lah, all this. But it's just like 30% of them is just misinformation.
Yeah.
Right, and sometimes I can't just sit idly
Yeah.
and watch this whole conversation spew into nonsense.
Yeah.
And when when I pointed it out, like for instance, a simplest article that was published in 2017, and they speak of it as if it just happened yesterday. So I said, first of all, you got to look at the date. It's 2017. It's right there in the article. You just need to click it. Second, of course, this has been resolved. There's been like actions, please action, whatever. And the third is, can you stop doing this?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, you know, I mean, what was it? The slogan, kalau tak sure jangan share, something like that.
Kalau ragu-ragu,
Kalau
kalau
pasti
tak
jangan
pasti
kongsi.
jangan kongsi.
Yeah. But now they give a disclaimer. Saya share je.
Yes.
Kalau saya this
Yeah.
one ni
Dari
maafkan
grup
saya.
sebelah.
That's the thing. That's the thing because we are very collectivistic in nature. We are very that's the nature of our society. Very
Yes.
very collectivistic. So I think you should know because
Yes.
you know saja je share. Because also there's this sense of security and safety. Like for instance, I mean putting politics aside.
Yeah.
For instance, you know the white van issue. You know how people are kidnapping,
Ah.
supposedly
Oh, the
kidnapping
1970s
people.
thing, and then
yeah, and then you know, for organ trafficking and whatever. That thing keeps on appearing.
Yes.
I think
Until
every few
today.
months until
Yeah.
today. I
Yeah.
think I just got one 2 weeks back.
Yeah.
So people are sharing despite knowing this might not be true,
Yeah.
but they're still sharing because in case I care for your safety. I want you
This is
to
a
be
false
safe.
pretense situation, or they
Yes.
really mean concern and
I think
care?
it's genuine concern. I think on most part it's genuine concern, and it's also sometimes on another hand, it's also they need to be the first to share
Yes.
as well. Oh, I want to be the first to share,
They should be working
despite
here instead,
checking
yeah.
the credibility or verifying it and,
Yeah.
and etc. So this is what happens in the WhatsApp groups.
Okay.
But for the older generation, I think on most part, it's more out of genuine concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I think you should know, for instance, COVID
Just in
cure.
case.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah.
Because I think they think we would know better to verify it.
Yeah.
So tak apalah kita share je, that kind of.
Yeah. Let's bring in Khalil right now because I want to look at, say misinformation is out there. Do we take it down? Do we leave it up with a notification? Do we leave it up with a counter rebuttal of sorts? How do we manage that kind of, I guess, misinformation that we see, let's say, on a Twitter timeline, or a Threads timeline, or Facebook, which most likely happens on Facebook actually right now in Malaysia?
I think it's interesting because there's a few methods we use to take down disinformation online, right? So one is called pre-bunking. Pre-bunking is where we basically debunk it before it becomes an issue.
Okay.
It's a new technique that everyone's trying to adopt and apply more of because we see value in sort of taking it down before it gets its legs, before
Okay.
it can go out and
Not debunk, pre-bunk.
Yes, pre-bunk. So you pre-bunk it before you. So what we do is we analyze a certain content, realize that there is an opportunity for it to grow and to start a fire basically, right? To jump out of its sort of normal niche, and we debunk it before it becomes an issue. The next one is obviously debunking, where we look at content and we break it down and provide an explanation of why is wrong, which everyone normally sees, which everyone normally does. So what we do, the idea here is we're creating content to counter content. It's effective. I think the caveat is we're doing a good job in that sense of how we're doing it. But we are still lagging behind misinformation. The thing you have to understand, and I think you've mentioned this before as well, it's emotive. Misinformation, disinformation, it's very emotive from the start. It's designed to capture someone's attention, to spread as far as possible. What we're not doing very well at the moment, and we're trying to do at least, we're learning about as we go along, is how to counter it more effectively. Because our content doesn't go as far as as disinformation does, and we need more people to sort of understand that this is the process, that when we take something out, it's usually an important bit of content that needs more shares. It needs more. It's gone far enough that it's become a problem. That the fact that you are sharing it out without knowing or becoming a victim of misinformation at the end of the day is because you've become attached to it and shared it.
So there is a school of thought right now which is try to take that message and make it disappear, block the account, remove the account from platform, deplatforming basically these kind of accounts that is originating this kind of misinformation. Is this, I guess, an effective way to counter this kind of information?
I guess you're going into the whole argument of whether or not it's freedom of information, right? I like Dr. Benlo's.
Because yes, you're right. Because my next question is, what makes you the policeman that says what I say is wrong?
So
or right?
I like Dr. Benlo's explanation of these people are allowed to, say whatever they want online. They're right. It's part of how freedom of information works. But I mean, it depends on. It's not our job to tell people you need to take this down. I mean, it's down to the platform. We spoke to TikTok about this as well. Like, what can you do to take it down? And they have their own policies and we can't tell them you need to take it down. We just point to it and say, like, look, these guys have been creating a lot of. These guys are clearly cyber troopers or something like that that are spreading disinformation and consistently becoming a threat to people. Do you feel like this is something you want to carry on doing or you want to continue doing at the end of the day? And it's up to them to decide. We just give them the evidence at the end of the day. That
but based on the information that we've seen, Media, maybe you can weigh your ideas here in. Because, say for instance, the Sanusi topic, the MB of Kedah, which is facing criminal charges right now, the account has been brought down by TikTok. He's been brought to court right now. This is just one case. I suppose there's many other cases like this. But is this deplatforming an idea that is something that Content Forum is looking at? Because I know you're big, as in Content Forum is big on self-regulation. Some people have no self-control. We know that from Trump. So how do you see this?
I think it's self-regulation at play really, because come on, it's you have to, for example, broadcasters, right? Astro AWANI, they self-regulate. So you've got your editorial independence, but everybody expects you to act on a...
Because we have a reputation to protect. Some people don't care about reputation.
But that's where all the social media platforms have their community guidelines, and they take down content which breaches the community guidelines. They're not taking down, for this example, Sanusi's account because of him, but it's the kind of content that he puts out. At least that's the argument here. So I think that is how we balance it off. We need to have freedom of speech. Everybody has the right to say what they want to say. But if it causes harm or it does anything that's against the community guidelines, well, that's it.
Okay, but of course then there's a story of content travels post-platform. If the video is downloaded, it normally happens. It's downloaded from TikTok. TikTok has taken it down. The video is still alive and well, and is distributed widely without any sign of abating.
But this is where these guys come in. I mean, if everybody knows that that's fake news, for example, even if you get it on your WhatsApp or your Facebook, you already know not to fall for it. You can give the link to these guys and say, look, I saw this 3 weeks ago on TikTok. It's already been debunked. You guys on Facebook.
That's a good idea. So how do people collaborate with you guys? I know that you're working with a whole host of alliances, including Astro AWANI, but how does the general public reach out to you guys and flag out this kind of content?
So we have a tip line number which they can WhatsApp to.
Sebutkan, silakan.
Alamak, tak ingat apa.
We'll put it down there. Fine, we'll put it down there.
So you put it down,
All right.
So we have a tip line number which they can WhatsApp to, and we also have an email address which they can email us, which is check@jomcheck.org. And they can also DM us on our social media accounts on Instagram. We are on all social media platforms, including Thread. So that's
what
how
about
they
Telegram?
can reach out.
That's where all the mess is right now.
It's
okay. It's okay. This idea is about sharing ideas. She has an idea that I can share. Telegram, because that's a really
That's a
whole host of mess that right there.
That's
I love Telegram though.
So that's how they can get to reach out to us with any devious contents that they may have.
Then we now have to talk about the whole psychology of content sharing. It's a lot more sexy, a lot more insatiable kind of need for us to share sensational news. It's less provocative and I guess sexy for us to share fact-checking information, unless you guys work in JomCheck or Astro AWANI or something like that. So how do we deal with that psychological aspect?
I guess
And I'm not just talking about election. I'm talking about, hantu terbang depan rumah saya, and I want to share it. And then there's a video of hantu terbang. Like, of course, that would be more interesting.
I guess it comes down to also understanding that people who share misinformation are not necessarily there to cause harm, right? People.
I think 99% is not that.
Yeah, but I think
but they do.
But they
inadvertently.
do. Yeah, but I think you have to understand as well the mindset of people who do share these things, that they are there primarily as a means to protect. Like, I know you mentioned the elderly, right? And also this also applies to the young as well, when they're working on, when they're sharing content through WhatsApp, through to their parents or whatever. They're always thinking about, how could this content harm my parents or me or my friends? It's not. I think there is a sense of like hatred that's pointed to them that makes it difficult for them to eventually think like, did I make a mistake or not? If I made a mistake and someone's pointing it out, I'm being embarrassed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that sort of deep down. So what we try to do as well, I think internally, and we've worked with Dr. Sab from Fact Check Lab side as well, to develop this idea of key opinion leaders. So we usually, with our university teams and whatnot, we usually train them to become these key opinion leaders in families. Like what you mentioned, you are the gatekeeper in your family of all the content that comes through and filter it out. But we've seen a lot of success, especially during the COVID times, where these students became these key opinion leaders in these families, and they became the central point at which people were just sending information to them, converting it. It sort of dissipates the traumatic aspect of it, right? So like the parents now know, okay, I can check this with someone in my family, and if it's shared, I know it's at least verified by someone and someone I trust. And at the end of the day, because these students are trained, they know how to go over it, they know how to run through it. Most of the time, there's no issue around it, and I think what we've seen as well with some of the students we've talked to, there's a lot less embarrassment at the end of the day for these people.
What about the whole culture of us trying to, manage that whole situation where seniors and elders are a little bit more smarter, and we have to have some sort of deference to them?
I personally think, I don't know about everyone else, and this may be a cultural thing for me, but
it is a cultural thing. Yeah.
But primarily for me, I don't think it's fair, because the elderly, I mean, no matter like what's been mentioned already, no matter how smart you are, you can always fall for disinformation. It's not a thing that's education or intellect dependent.
Yes.
It's designed in a way specifically to fool you.
Yeah.
Anyone can fall for it. You watch an advertisement and you want to buy its things. It's about the same concept here.
Okay, final round of line of questioning is in terms of how the media players can actually bring about better information out there, and how do we make it stick? We've seen a lot of newsrooms now have a fact-checking desk. That has worked to some degree. However, I do believe that the impact is still minimal, because we're still seeing a lot of misinformation, malinformation out there. So how do you think that news organizations can actually up the ante in terms of trying to combat fake information?
Firstly, I think, of course, not all newsrooms, like you said, not all newsrooms have a fact-checking desk. This is something I think entirely new with our media organizations. In fact, this is something that we, JomCheck, as JomCheck, try to approach a lot of newsrooms, because we do offer free training, fact-checking trainings and all that as part of our partnership agreement, right? So to say, not all newsrooms, take up on it. But it's very important, like you said, it's very important to have these trainings of fact-checking and a partnership, because the thing with fact-checking is that when you do not have the manpower to do it, that's where our coordination and our JomCheck coalition comes to play. So let's say, AWANI, you don't have the time to do the fact check, so you can take a content from our other partners who have done the fact check, and in turn it saves time, it saves manpower, and we ensure that the fact checks are out. So that's how, one of the ways.
Of course, this also responds directly in terms to how we manage our reputation. This reputation that AWANI has, for instance, can easily go away in one fell swoop, just by one bad news that was acted, not necessarily out of bad faith, but information that was not checked properly. So there is also that fear and, I guess, phobia that is being exercised. How real is this phobia?
I'm not sure, it's the phobia of ensuring, truth or a content is fact checked, but there is also the need to be the first to publish, I think. I think in a lot of scholars, I'm taking from research and all that, a lot of scholars found that news which has been published were not verified because news organizations wish to be the first to share that piece of content.
Yeah, and then they'll figure out a corrective message later on.
Exactly. So how do we go around it? So
Well, it's called journalism ethics, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes. But the thing with journalism ethics is just ethics. There's no repercussions. I mean, if you don't
Tak ada
follow that,
repercussion.
there's no repercussions. Yeah.
There has been some form of repercussion,
Yeah.
of course,
Not
yes,
really.
and we have had our fair share of facing those repercussions. But of course, this kind of
Yeah.
conversations must continue on. But we have to pause this conversation for now. That was Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh, the head of secretariat at JomCheck Malaysia. Earlier on, you heard from Khalil Majid of the Fact Check Lab, as well as the project manager and editor of JomCheck. And right at the end there is Mediha Mahmud, the ED of Content Forum. Continue to stay with us in terms of the conversations that we bring to you when it comes to fact-checking. Astro AWANI, the nation's 24 news, our television station, continues our run as the 5th straight year as the most trusted news brand in Malaysia 2023 for the 6th consecutive year now, following our 2023 digital news report as published by the Reuters Institute and Oxford University. We are, in a lot of ways, the most trusted news channel in the country. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm sure that, I'm sure it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I'll take whatever I can get. Find out more on astrology.com. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.